Welcome to Easy Email Marketing. I'm your host, Yael Keown, mum, FIFO wife, MBA, coffee lover, survivor superfan, and creator of the email experience. In Easy Email Marketing, you'll benefit from my nearly 20 years experience, where I'll be teaching you all the tips, tricks, and insider info on how to create feel-good, non-spammy experiences for your subscribers. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to the Easy Email Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Yael Keown, and today is part 2 of my series all about fixing your engagement with your emails, and specifically focusing in on the 4 engagement steps. First, deliverability; second, opens; third, clicks; and fourth, sales conversions. So your subscriber needs to go through all 4 of these in order, so each one builds on the previous. So they can't open if they don't see the email, and they can't click if they don't open it, etc. So I'm going to explore many of the different drivers and factors within your email marketing that can impact each of these steps and provide some practical tips and ideas for you to implement. And today is going to be all about opens and how to increase that open rate. But if you haven't listened to the previous episode on deliverability, and you are having issues with people opening your emails, or you think your open rates are quite low, then that could be a good place to start. Because of course, if your subscriber that never sees the emails, if it's going to spam, then they aren't going to open. So that could be the first place to look. Okay, let's get stuck into opens, which have had a little bit of a bad rap recently. We know open rates aren't as reliable as they used to be. They aren't as good an indicator of email performance, largely due to things like the Apple Mail privacy protection, and even things like AI opens are now triggering off open rates to increase. So generally in our email marketing software, our open rates shown will be inflated compared to what they are in reality. They are, however, still a good indicator of whether your emails are going to spam, because if it goes to spam or junk, those automatic opens won't happen. And also just as a comparison with yourself. So we're always seeking to improve. We always want to get a new PB when it comes to our open rates. So even though a 60% open rate might not mean exactly 60% of your subscribers opened, it does mean it is a comparison point for you to work off. But regardless of how you feel about the accuracy of open rates, you still need your subscribers to open your emails. So accurate numbers doesn't matter so much as, inbox providers still knowing which emails their users are opening and therefore still showing those emails to those subscribers. And of course, no opens means no clicks, means no sales from your emails specifically. Now, the number one thing that people think of when they think of how am I going to improve my open rates, they go straight to the subject line. Now, I disclosed at the beginning of this series, I am not going to be talking about copywriting. The reason being is because that is the surface layer that everybody defaults to when it comes to an engagement issue, or when it comes to email marketing. We think email marketing is words. That means it's just all about copywriting, which is a misconception. And it's exactly the same thing with subject lines. So I am not going to tell you that subject lines are not important. They absolutely are, but you can find so much information on crafting great subject lines. You can use AI to create the best subject lines ever. I've got previous podcast episodes about subject lines, so check those out. Instead, I want to focus on the things that you don't normally think about when it comes to open rates, because there is a lot more to it than just a subject line. So beyond subject lines and beyond, of course, deliverability, I'm going to share, 6 different factors that can influence open rates. Now, the first one is sending emails that your sending emails your subscribers can read. So specifically, I am saying can read. So this means, do your emails display properly on all devices? Are they mobile responsive? Do they take a long time to load? Are they accessible? Does it have high contrast colors? Is it easy clickable targets? Is there alternative text for images? Can screen readers go through those emails? Can AI bots go through those emails? So regardless, while maybe they'll open the emails the first time, if they see straight away that, this email is a mess or they can barely read it, they're not going to keep opening your emails. So number one, sending emails your subscribers can read. They all appear properly and they are accessible to everyone and every device. Factor 2 is sending emails your subscribers want. Now, this is a big, varied topic, and there is a lot to what your subscribers want, so much so that there is a whole driver inside my program, Engaging Emails, about figuring out your strategic content creation plan, and specifically, what content do my subscribers want? So you need to be thinking about here, what did they sign up for? Because that influences what they want. So if they signed up for a discount code, well, then they probably want offers from you. But if they subscribed for tips or advice, that's what they want from you. So sending emails that they want based on their actions, but also what you know about your audience. So this involves, target market research. It involves really understanding the messages that are going to cut across. It means knowing what helps them make a decision. And sometimes it's about knowing what to send them, those things that they don't even realize that they need to know. It's also to do with presenting it in a format that people like to read, whether you use stories, whether you use metaphors, whether it's more a digest style. These are the types of things you need to be aware of with your audience. So, of course, if you are sending emails your subscribers want, so they're really helpful, or they make them laugh, they make them smile, they make them think, or they just give them that pause through the day, or they do offer a solution to a challenge, or it gives them a nice break, to browse through their emails. If you are sending emails they want, then they're going to be opening them. It's quite simple, but sometimes we focus so much in on that subject line that we forget, okay, maybe we need to just step back and go, ooh, what do they want? Rather than think, oh, how can I just put, lipstick on a pig, is the saying. Now, Factor 3, which ties in really strongly to this, is segmenting. So this is one of the more advanced drivers that I teach. But this is the idea that you do not send every email to everybody on your list. So going back to what they want, some subscribers on your list will want different things from other subscribers. Now, we don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole here, but even if at a minimum you had different messages for people who are new to your list, or people who have been around for a while, or people who have never purchased compared to those who have purchased, or you just have a couple of core interest categories, and you segment your audience based on that, and then you can tailor the messages to them. Therefore, relevance increases. Therefore, they are more likely to open because they go, oh yes, that is for me. Factor number 4 is frequency. So frequency or cadence is all about how often you are sending your emails on average. Now, I am talking frequency here and not consistency. I think the word consistency is a very loaded term, and sometimes we feel really trapped by that. Instead, it's just maintaining a decent frequency, a reliable habit, some patterns that your audience can tie into. Frequency also plays into account with a numbers game. So the goal is not that every subscriber will open every email, but perhaps that your subscribers on average will open 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3. 1.5 out of 3. Obviously, you'll have the subscribers that do open everything. You might have ones that just open ones now and then you've got this middle ground. So this is all about finding an average. So the problem that I find with a lot of people and a lot of businesses are that they go, oh, I don't want to annoy my list too much, so they only send an email once a month. But what happens if for just some reason, even your most engaged, reliable, biggest fans, biggest subscribers, most engaging subscribers are busy that day, or they're on holidays or they're sick and they don't check it that time, then they miss it. And it sinks down their list of emails, and then they don't hear from you for another whole month. By sending more frequently, you are giving them more opportunities to remember you, to engage with you, etc. And of course, if you have done some great brainstorming and you've gone through the exercises about figuring out what they want, you won't be short of ideas of things to send. So this isn't about, okay, we're going to send every single day, but it is about sending often enough that on average, you will get all of your subscribers opening maybe once a month. So that's not going to happen entirely. There will always be, a percentage of your audience which just do not open for a myriad of reasons. But that's where we're going. So we want to get an average. So sending more often gives them more opportunities to open because there might just chance that they see that message at that time. Of course, that doesn't mean hounding them. And of course, it doesn't mean that more often is always better. This is where we look at the numbers. So again, looking at our open rates. If you start sending more frequently, you might find that your open rates drop, or per individual email might drop slightly. But I find they kind of sit around the same average for the same type of email until a point. And then it might drop slightly. But then what you also need to take into account is the total open rates for the month, like what percentage of your audience opened at least one of those emails as well, and use that as a comparison point. So we're thinking about the big picture as well as the individual email. Factor number 5 then is timing. So this is when someone is going to receive an email and therefore when they are most likely to open it. So think about this as your kids needing a snack. If I am in the flow, if I am in here hyper-focused in my office working on a project and the kids come and interrupt me and go, "Mom, I'm hungry. Can I have a snack? Or can I have this thing? Can I have more time on my iPad?" What do you think my response is going to be? It's like, come back later, go find your dad. I'm not interested right now. I'll try to be a bit more polite than that. Depends. Whereas if I am just in the kitchen, tidying up, if I'm already, prepping some things for the day, if I'm doing the dishes or I'm doing just general housework or bits and pieces around there, or I'm spending time with them and they ask for a snack, oh, yeah, sure, I'll go get it for you, depending. But obviously the timing is right. So it's the exact same thing with emails. The better time, the more appropriate time that you send the emails, the more targeted that is towards when they are most likely to have time to be sitting down and opening their emails, the higher the open rates will be. So you need to think about your unique audience and when they are likely to open. So like school pickup time is pretty good time for parents or mums with kids who are doing that school pickup run because they're sitting there in the car waiting for the time to go by, so they're scrolling. Or e-commerce, sometimes the peak shopping times are like Friday nights, Sunday afternoons when people are a bit more leisurely. Whereas if you're on business-to-business context, it might be that 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So you've got to think about timing. And of course, now we think about time zones when it comes to this. Like it might be the right time in your time zone, but what about theirs? And of course, you've got to be just thinking about the whole variety of life obligations that people have. Now, the great news is with modern email marketing tools, we can work with this a lot better. We can do sending with some of them based around the recipient's time zone. We can also do in some software predictive sending time. So you might say start at a certain time and it will deliver the email sometime within the next 24 hours from that start point, based around when that individual user is most likely to open their emails. And finally, factor number 6, which ties into this beautifully, are automations. So while automations themselves are their own driver, etc., they will see significantly higher open rates than any other emails. I think the number sits at around 52% higher opens. And the reason comes back to timing. So someone has just done something. They have just signed up to your list. They have just been browsing your website. They have just added to cart, or they've just purchased something and they get an email. And they're expecting that email and they're going there to actively check. So straight away, that impacts whether your open rates overall and your overall engagement. So the more automations, and especially behavioral triggered automations you have in place, the higher your open rates will be. So quick recap on those non-deliverability, non-subject line factors that impact your open rates. Firstly, sending emails your subscribers can read. Second, sending emails your subscribers want. Third, segmenting, so increasing that relevance by sending to smaller groups. Number 4 is frequency. Number 5 is your timing. And number 6 is automations. So if you've been listening to this and thinking you need some more practical guidance into improving your email opens or a few other extra tricks, then I suggest you check out my program, Engaging Emails. Not only is there a whole driver dedicated to practical open and click rate boosters, but perhaps more importantly, I would point you towards Driver 2, which covers strategic content creation. So that walks you through target market research strategies, crafting your messaging, creating your content plans, and specific email content styles that subscribers are loving right now. So no longer will you be staring at a blank screen wondering what on earth to send. Instead, you'll have an abundance of ideas. You'll have that strategy, and more importantly, every email you send will have a purpose. Of course, this is just one of the 7 drivers that affect whether your emails are working. So engaging emails covers the full picture: design, deliverability, automation, segmentation, sales conversions, opens, clicks, all of it. The whole iceberg, not just that bit above the surface. You can learn more all about that at yaelkeown.com/engage. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear from you what you've enjoyed from this episode or what you want to know more about in future episodes. Let me know over on Instagram. I'm at yaelkeown, that's all one word, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Easy Email Marketing. It's an absolute honour that you chose to listen. If you love this episode, then it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so that others can find this podcast and make their email marketing easy too. Finally, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. Until next time, have an awesome day and make sure to keep showing up and serving in those inboxes.